Hey guys. Excuse me. Hey guys. Next to last, or maybe the last video for today. I really liked Ivan Mike's role-playing game made for me. So this is Indy's role-playing game. I made a few notes here. Hopefully this doesn't drag it down. I'm going to try to keep it fast and loose. Concerning stats and skills, they must have both. I can't remember if this was an RPG Brigade discussion or hashtag RPG chat, which really isn't a very great place anymore. But or it was a Board Game Geek on the RPG design side of the forum. They must have both. There must be stats. There must be skills. They must be distinct. For me, that is pretty much a non-negotiable. I'll sit down and do a one-shot of a game, but you know that doesn't have both. But the game that's designed for me has both. I want to know what you are physically, what you're capable of because of your body, the mind, the strength, and what have you been trained in? What have you improved the otherwise intuitive execution of? Skills should also be significant. I'm not saying that the entire game must be skills first, kind of a skills-based game. I'm just saying that having a skill versus not having a skill must be distinctive. Sometimes through this list you might find, oh yeah, I can tell Indy prefers Rollmaster and that's what he's been playing for a long time. You might taste that. And this is also one of those places where you'll find, and actually my first RPG was TSR Marvel, and while I still own it, I pretty much don't play it anymore because I really dislike a lot of the ideas in it. And this is one of those. And there was a 5% improvement between having a skill and not having a skill, and that just made no sense to me. Combat. No, you know what? I'm going to skip the combat note. I'm going to go down to the system. Ivan Mike talked about the system in general. So Ivan Mike talked about how he wants the choices to be equivalent. He didn't say it that way, but he didn't want there to be useless choices. Well, why would you? There's almost no reason why you would ever pick that feat or this class or that race. Or, well, of course you picked half elf. They have an overall positive bonus to the stat line, way better than everybody else. He doesn't want those kind of things. He was saying that there should be, all the choices should be fairly equally valid. I totally agree with that. Also, however, I want choices to come with a cost. I don't mean for every good thing you get a negative. I just mean that if you make the choice to take something like a skill, that you get something for it. Which is why I want stats and skills to be both distinct, and I want skills to be significant. It's worth saying also that that cost might very well mean that you don't get to do something else. I can't imagine what kind of role-playing game would have this, but let's say there was a role-playing game that had extrovert as a quality. You would not also get to take introvert. Okay, well, you don't get to have your cake and eat it too. Which is actually a pretty good summary of how I both like to GM and how I like to see my systems. You don't get to have your cake and eat it too. All right, let's go over to cover combat. Combat, and as far as like how much you get to stay in the fight, it can't just be hits or hit points or health points or anything like that. It can't just be that. Rolling a d6 or 2d8 plus 1 or whatever and just taking a number off of a bigger number is boring. Oh my gosh, I find that so boring. This also leads to something that Ivan Mike was talking about, that I would like the system to provide sources of narration for combat. and let me insert this thought in front of the other thought. Again, Rolemaster, combat, criticals, and they have critical descriptions, and even fumbles have descriptions. I'm not so locked into those exact phrases, but if you understand the system well enough, if you understand the enemy well enough, and you don't have enough other things going on in your head, great. Then this narration that's printed there in the critical result can just be a suggestion, and you can just go with it. You don't have to stick with the exact description as written. Personally, I would not go changing the numbers that are involved because we're not all whizzes at balancing, and you're not taking the time to balance test it. So don't do that. But when you only have hits, then you actually have to do a lot more narration. And to me, that ends up feeling like story time starring me and my character. Blech. Go LARP. Anyways, sorry. So combat can't just be hits because it's boring and it has no narration inherent in it. Weapons and can't be better just because they're bigger. You can't just go from a damage size of this to a damage size of that. That's bigger. Well, why would you ever get the first one? In a way, this has to do with the system. Choices must have consequences and be meaningful, and all the choices need to be relatively equivalent. There need to be tactical options in combat. If all you're going to do is just pile up on everybody and just swing swords round after round after round, spellcaster spell casting every round after round after round, even if you have descriptive combat, that's going to get boring. Now, again, Ivan Mike specifically said he doesn't want to do mathematical exercises in combat. But I'll point out that unless you just have a horrible understanding of the world, and maybe you've never wargamed, I don't know what all it could be, the tactics should be to some degree intuitive. Like, I don't have to look up what the rear attacking from the rear bonus in Rolemaster is to know, hey, I'm going to do better if I get behind him. Or if I'm going to drop the rock on somebody's head, the higher up I am, the better it is. You don't need to do the math. We'll leave that for the GM. And hopefully it's not complicated for the GM. Like, if that stuff is in there, it needs to not kill combat and the flow of it. It needs to be easy. Rolemaster's a percentile system, so it's easy to just say something like, you'll get a +1 bonus per feet. So what are you? You're 3 stories above, so that's about 30 feet, plus 30 to the roll. Dang, done. Moving on to magic. Magic needs to be sourced from points, or executing on a skill, or maybe sourced from an exhaustion. What I will not abide by is the spell slot thing. That OSR thing of slots, I don't like it. Don't like it at all. The memorization at the morning and all that stuff. There's a word for it. I think I heard it in either one of Ivan Mike's videos or Runeslinger's videos. There's a word for that, that design. Hate it. Hate it. So it can't be that. As far as the spells in the magic world, there needs to be some guidance. I don't like it being completely open. Mage the Ascension, I couldn't play it worth a crap. I couldn't play it worth a crap because I had no starting place for my ideas. Now, then again, every idea I had was flagrantly unnatural, so I had to keep checking them against whatever the emo quality of Mage the Ascension is. I forget what it's called, but where you can't go throwing fireballs out of your hand and stuff like that. You build up these certain kind of points. So there needs to be guidance. That's probably one of the things that, while I'm looking forward to trying out Riddle of Steel this year, it probably won't become a regular at my table because the magic system is completely open. Now then again, there's not many mages in Riddle of Steel, so I guess that's a good counterweight. But yeah, there needs to be some guidance there. It doesn't need to be completely all scripted down, but there needs to be some guidance, some rules. I'm going to move on to the setting. While I don't require settings in my systems. I mean, again, Rollmaster settingless system. So I don't require a setting in my system. If there is a setting, buck the tropes. You don't have to be, all PC barrier breaking about it or anything like that. You can leave most of the tropes. That's fine. But buck some of them. Do something different. If you're not going to do something different, I might as well pick up D&D. Or something else. Like do something different. And I think in the industry as a whole, we've seen plenty of that in the last 5 to 10 years. A lot of new systems coming out, indie, small press kind of games, and they all do something different, not just mechanically, but in their setting too, and good for them. But so the RPG made for indie, if it included a system, would buck tropes. And finally, one more comment back to the system in general. Characters need to be able to improve. This is another counterpoint to TSR's Marvel. He didn't really improve much there. I'm not crazy about that. I don't have any players, and I am not a player or a GM who don't want to see characters change and grow over time. And not just in a relational or wealth way, but skills, stats, new abilities, the whole jazz. But I don't want to see characters improving in this prescriptive, here it is in a table way. Like Dragon Age, another system that I said that I was really looking forward to trying out. You get bonuses to attack here, and you get skills here, you get new rankings and talents here. Now, what might be saving grace for that game is that the talents and the skills are not all that prescriptive. Some of them are, though. Like, which spell you get to take is pretty prescriptive. That kind of thing. Or Dungeons and Dragons tables of like, well, this is what your saving throws are at this level, and this is what your, to hit bonus, whichever generation of D&D it was, that's what this is. And, oh, here you get to pick up a skill, and oh, here you get to pick up a spell. Spending building points of some kinds, character points of some kind, is, in my opinion, the absolute best way to do that, because it's just very free form. However, it could also be, and I would be totally happy with this, centered around usage. I like Call of Cthulhu's using and failing and succeeding at skills being a part of how you improve the skills. I really like that. So there might be other things that would be part of Indy's ideal role-playing game if someone made it for me. I can't really think about it. I tried to think about this completely separate from the fact that I'm actually not currently actively, but I do have an RPG system in development that I've started playtesting at one point. I did character generation and said, wow, I have problems here, and just stopped right there, and I went back to reworking it. So I tried to make this list that I'm reading off of separate from just reading off the characteristics of that game, because that game just has my particular decisions on how to execute on some of these ideas, but it doesn't have to be that way. But maybe that makes it ideal. I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to link Ivan Mike's video down below. Go check him out if you haven't. Like, subscribe. Like, subscribe Ivan Mike. He's fun to listen to, especially if you're OSR. Go check him out.